Greetings, Alan and Lynn and Russell. This is for you. And remember those words. This is for you, so that you can take a few minutes to move ahead in your life and learn a little bit more about being an individual, personal, on-demand iPod radio broadcaster. And so that we can move our life and our business and the things that we want to achieve into the lives of other people so that we can serve them and serve them better. Let me tell you a story. In fact, many stories. His name is Elie Wiesel, and his book, simply entitled Night, is one of the most powerful books I've ever read. And anyone who has read that book has certainly been affected by it in some powerful ways. And I learned something from Elie that is important for you and I in life and in teaching and in broadcasting and in leading. What is the approach that he uses when he actually stops being a writer and becomes a performer, a teacher, a speaker? Well, here's what he does, and I learned this from him. What he does is he simply is dressed all in black, very simply, and the stage is bare except for a stool, and there is a small spotlight on the stool. The house lights begin to dim, and Elie comes forward, and he sits on the stool and looks at the audience, and then simply begins, "Let me tell you a story." And that's what he does. Let me tell you a story. Please, let me tell you a story. Some of the most powerful words in the English language. And that's what we're going to learn to do, because storytelling is truly, I believe, the most effective means of communication. We can educate, we can inform, but if you want to change people, if you want to affect their behavior, you tell good stories. Because you see, it is in storytelling that you aren't telling people what to do. You are allowing them to discover the truth for what they should do by themselves. Storytelling is the only effective means of communication, and I believe that profoundly. And Elie Wiesel demonstrates that. Ever since then, whenever I give a presentation, that's exactly what I do. Usually dressed in black, simple, step forward, look at the audience, maybe kind of stare them down a little bit, smile, and then say, "Let me tell you a story." And you've got them. They're stopped. They want to hear the story. Let me tell you a story. One of the first principles is that if we're going to be radio broadcasters, we're going to have to be significant storytellers. And most of what we do will be telling stories to help people discover the truth for themselves. Here's another story about me. Many years ago, when my career collapsed and I had to start over again, somebody arranged for me to have an appointment with somebody who was a major HR person in a big Minnesota company. And so I was very, very grateful for that. And so I got dressed in my best and got ready to go. And the appointment was with the gentleman. I could tell that he particularly was doing somebody a favor and may or may not have been interested in me and what I could do for his HR department. He listened to my story a bit. Yes, he listened to my story a bit, and I thanked him for that. And he looked at my resume, and then he looked at me, and he says, "Mr. Hustad, it appears that you have quite a significant resume, and you've had a great deal of experience." And then he said this, "Tell me something I don't know. Tell me something I don't know." And wouldn't it be nice if in any kind of relationship experience, can you imagine how I gulped? And I told him a story about something I had just learned from a client relationship. And he kind of smiled. Well done. Yeah. Good to know that. As a broadcaster, you're a storyteller. And you're not just doing the same old thing, the same old stuff, the SOS, and you can give it other words if you want that people have heard and been bored with, and they're now hearing it again. Tell them something they don't know, something that is practical, something that is helpful, something that is engaging, something that is even useful. My daughter, who went to New York to write her first book, had a lot of experiences, and the book she wrote about her becoming was How to Be Useful, because she had discovered that the only thing that counted in New York City when you're trying to make it in the publishing business is you've got to be useful to a lot of people. So tell me something I don't know. Yeah. That will help me remember you and enjoy working with you. Then, just what I said. This is for you. Now that goes back to another story. Did a lot of late night radio. And what would happen is people would write in and they would request a song or a certain subject they wanted us to cover in the late night hours. And what I learned was this, is when they would ask for a request, I would simply say, and we have a special request on Caribbean Night Call. And Barbara in Jamaica would like me to play this song for her mother on her birthday. And we're going to do that. And then I would pause and I would say, Barbara in Jamaica, for you and for your mother. This is for you. Start. They love that. I oftentimes tell people, treat every person you meet as the most important person in the world. Think of the person listening to your radio program as the most important person in the world. Because they are. This is for you. And so I'm going to ask you to say to yourself, I've got all kinds of stories and topics, but who is this for? Who is this program for? It's not for me, it's for them. They're listening to you. If it's an hour-long program, they're going to be 1 hour closer to being dead by the time the program ends. Did you make it worthwhile for them? And so I'm going to ask you to always think about, what do you want people to feel? Emotion. What do you want them to experience? Something happens to them. What do you want them to know? Something that makes them smile or challenges them or informs them in some way that's practical, helpful, and useful. And then what do you want them to do? Maybe you want them to buy your book. Maybe you want them to invite you to a program. Maybe you want them to start doing something that is good for them as well as for you. What do you want them to do? Well, there we go. I just wanted to keep this as a brief introduction. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is just exactly what I did. You're going to start to learn the art of the segue. What makes good broadcasting is the ability, and of course the clerical, he wasn't a clerical guy, the crazy guy Garrison Keillor in his storytelling was always able, how do you move from one section to the other section to the other topic and do it smoothly? Learn the art of the segue. How do you do that? Particularly when people can't see the paragraph break or the chapter break in the book, you need to learn the art of the segue. How to change and move from one subject, one topic to the other, and do so in a way that makes sense and actually brings people right along with you. There's a lot more to learn, but it's so much fun. So I hope this has been helpful to you. We're ready to begin the programming, and so if you'll just take this a few minutes, and then if you have any questions, we'll have that ready to go for you too. So now, how can I help you? Most important question in the world too. How can I help you? I look forward to doing just that. All the best and blessings. We're ready to go. Till we meet again. Bye for now.